But does having a more sustainable holiday season mean sacrifice, changing from a real tree to a plastic tree? Or should I be trading lamb for Beyond Meat lasagna? I'm not too sure. But what I do know, the first step to changing climate change is talking about it. And that's why we brought everyone together in this panel to have a conversation. So with that, I'm going to introduce our panelists. So first we have Annemarie Gordon who is a sustainability coordinator from the Sustainable Library Initiative and Suffolk Cooperative Library System. Both personally and professionally, she has been working to reduce her impact on the planet and cut down on waste. You can find her outside and on a board all year long, surfing, skateboarding, stand-up paddling, skating, and snowboarding. She lives and works in Bellport with her partner and 3 kids. This is my kind of person. Kate Fullam, she joined the East End Food Institute in 2018 and has directed her skills and expertise from nearly 2 decades of nonprofit work towards the goal of creating a more sustainable and equitable local food system. Kate loves to enjoy the outdoors in her free time, especially swimming, hiking, and enjoying a locally sourced meal on her porch or at the beach with friends. And last but not least, Melanie Gonzalez, a lifetime Long Island. This is the first time I'm actually meeting Melanie. So hello, Melanie.
Hi.
A lifetime Long Islander and owner of Long Island's first zero-waste lifestyle shop, Simple Good, located in the head of Port Jefferson Village. With more than 15 years in product development, Melanie uses her corporate experience to curate sustainable small batch products that can help contribute to a more circular economy. She lives in Rocky Point with her husband of 19 years and 2 kids and easily finds daily inspiration to respect and care for our planet while living on the beautiful North Shore of Long Island. So and Darr, why don't you say hello?
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you. And panelists, Annemarie and Melanie and Kate, thank you so much for joining us. And one little other note, and that is I'm the co-founder, along with Sheila Piper and Joe DiVincenzi, who is about to drive down to Naples, Florida, where the hurricane has destroyed her house. So thank you so much for coming and joining us. Back to you, Mike.
Sure. So the format tonight will be a 40-minute conversation with our panelists with a 5-minute Q&A. Following the panel, stick around. We're breaking into groups where we can hear from you. For those of you who completed a crew, we're going to have kind of a check-in celebration end of the year breakout group. And for those of you new to crew, you're stuck with me. I apologize in advance. We're going to figure out your carbon footprint and discuss what you can do to reduce your impact. So now remember, this is a conversation. For all of you who are watching, please keep yourselves muted. For the panelists, let's have fun and let's change climate change. So Darr, why don't you take it away?
Okay, well, we've got this holiday season coming up and we want to make it as sustainable as possible. And we also have our wonderful traditions. So how do we live with this new sustainability protocol that we want to put in place and continue to have our traditions at the same time? Annemarie, would you take it away for starters?
Sure. I can definitely, long before I was a sustainability coordinator, just as a parent and seeing all the waste, like all the packaging for toys and the wrapping paper and all of that. So as soon as when my kids were younger, I decided that we weren't going to do wrapping paper. I think the first maybe couple years we did really small Christmases because, you know, my youngest was a baby. She didn't notice anyway. But then I decided that I was going to start making cloth wrappers for all the gifts. So I have like a little show and tell. But basically I can keep everything in a bin and this is our whole Christmas. So, you know, when my kids get into certain sports or things, like I'll pick up fabric from a fabric store and then like incorporate that in. So they remember year to year, like what was wrapped in what in a really special way. It just makes all of like the gifts a little more meaningful too. But and they really have fun, like sort of with their own, you know, little wrapper. So I just have made a bunch of drawstring bags. My kids can do it. My husband has been called in to make bags. I haven't had to make one in probably 5 years because we have enough now. And I have like full adult size snowboard bags in here in the bin because my kids keep growing. So they keep needing new equipment every year. which might not be the most sustainable part, but at least we're not throwing away wrapping paper after that. And normally we're trading or selling or buying used when we can too. But I mean, some of them I'll try to pull some out, but I've gone crazy with like sparkles, and there's a whole bunch of ribbons in here too. So they're wrapped, they're tied and pretty bows with satin. And I haven't, like I said, my oldest is 18. They're not so young anymore, but they will still get super excited when they see like the penguins on here on Christmas morning again. So that, again, for this is, probably 18 years of not buying something disposable or even, single use right there. So that's been a big thing for us, for our family. And again, these are simple, I mean, and I'll plug it for libraries with that. You can rent a sewing machine at the Patchogue Medford Library. It's our central library for Suffolk County if you're here in our county, but some libraries will check out sewing machines to you too. So, I mean, even if you don't have a machine, you can still find one.
Wow, what great ideas. I wish I had thought of those when our kids were young, and I had no idea that you could rent a sewing machine. That's amazing information. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Melanie, how about you?
Well, I think those were great suggestions by Annemarie. And also there is this wonderful Japanese tradition called furoshiki, pronounced spelled Furoshiki. And you don't even need a sewing machine. It's also a tradition where you use material to wrap gifts, and it's just a folding technique. So you can look up the videos on how to do that on YouTube. There's millions of them. But part of the tradition is that they use in India, they'll use Indian saris and upcycle the material. And then there's, like I said, a special folding technique that you just fold across and knot. And that way you're upcycling the material, and again, not using single use disposable gift wrap. Another beautiful thing that you can do is wrap with newspaper. And you can put dried flowers or maybe a branch from a tree to accent it, rather than utilizing plastic or things that can be thrown away that are not biodegradable. So that's great idea, Annemarie. And there are like other ways that you can use materials too if you just don't have any sewing skills.
Where was that country from, of that tradition?
The technique originated in Japan, but they utilize a lot of women in India upcycle their saris, and they'll use that for gift wrapping as well.
So Melanie, could you take a moment to just maybe explain what upcycling is? It's a term that I think many people in the field understand, but not necessarily everyone else.
Sure. So upcycling is you take something maybe that you would have discarded, and rather than throw it away, you just create something else with it. So for example, a dress that has a hole in it, maybe you will take the material and make rags to clean your house with. Or you take, my husband upcycles tons of things. He'll find old furniture that it would be thrown away, or somebody is giving away for free, and he'll take the wood and repurpose it for something else. So that's just what upcycle means. It's just something that maybe would have traditionally been discarded, and you just create something else with it.
So basically, that's what my mother did for my whole childhood. Mom, you're a leader in the upcycling world. Kate, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to kind of lean into the upcycling because my daughter is such a crafter that I'm actually learning a lot from her about that. She'll take, Mom, can I use this container? Can I use this box? And, you know, make something else out of it. She'll paint things. So, you know, involving her and, you know, other people, if you have children or grandchildren, in making crafts, you know, and boxes out of prior items, you can paint over it or have them color it. And I also, you know, related to food, we at East End Food Institute use a ton of mason jars to package our, you know, local produce into products. So that has me thinking about using mason jars as a gift, you know, no sewing required, but you could take a little piece of scrap paper and kind of put that around the interior with a little drawing or, you know, picture even a scrap piece of wrapping paper that you had around. So I like using jars for food gifts, and sometimes the gift inside is pretty enough that you really don't need to put more than maybe just a bow on it.
So that's actually a wonderful segue to our next question on food. And, you know, food is obviously very important to me, for those of you who know me, and also majorly responsible for my carbon footprint. You know, I walk to work, which reduces my carbon footprint immediately, but having a high meat diet and the meat I buy, you know, it has some impacts. In fact, I have a professor on here where I remember taking his course, and I was one of our lessons was measure your food, you know, miles, and my breakfast traveled the circumference of the earth, and I never forgot that. You know, it's been almost 15 years, and I still remember it. So with that in mind, Kate, your experience with East End Food Institute, why don't you take a moment and tell us about your organization and how you're supporting, or how supporting organizations like East End Food Institute plays a role in sustainability?
Well, I mean, we're looking at food systems from a multi-pronged perspective. It has an impact on the local economy, keeping dollars close to home, obviously the environment, affecting land use and food miles, and then also the equity piece and making sure that people can eat what's growing around them. Right now, we're working with 5 school districts, and a lot of these districts are getting food through USDA commodity that, you know, probably has traveled around the world in food miles. And so we're trying to work on directing public subsidies in the direction of subsidizing local food systems and getting more local food onto the plates of kids in schools, senior center lunches, hospitals, and also working with a number of food pantries locally to give them buying power to keep that money in our community and feed people really from right around them in their neighborhoods, and supporting the farmers and the food producers that are here. So, you know, I think food, to me, having started off as working in the environmental field, actually served on one of the first sustainability committees in Southampton town, and now working with East End Food Institute and on the planning board. You know, I think food is a great social adhesive, right? And the great connector of all these issues, because we could sit around the table and start to gain common ground to talk about them. And also the choices that we make related to food impact those areas of economy, environment, and equity and human health. I actually have a little diagram if it's appropriate to share screen to
Sure,
kind of
I'll
show.
share the screen with you if I remember how to do these things. I think I have to make you.
I think we have an open sharing. She should be able to share.
Oh, you do?
Grab it, Kate. See if you
Oh,
can
yeah,
grab
I
it.
see that it says it. Okay. So, yeah, this is kind of how we work within the food system. Fresh produce coming in from local farms. East End Food Institute serves as a small scale aggregator, and we're growing as a food hub to, you know, make those connections from small scale farms who may not have the volume to go with Baldor or US Foods, but get that out into the community to food banks and underserved programs on the right here, as well as, you know, out to the farm stands, retail sales, grocery stores, and hopefully institutional use that will help increase volume from multiple different sources and also level out the pricing. So it's good for the farms, it's good for people that are eating the food, And then on the right, you'll see here, we also support small scale businesses using the kitchen. This person right here, you guys may know, it was Rachel from Sweet Woodland Farm. And she is such a force. She grows her own herbs, flowers, and elderberries. She makes salves and elderberry syrup and tisane herbal teas. And, you know, it's a farmer, a food producer, a business owner, really taking things full circle. So we love to support that. And we do some food processing as well to turn produce into products that will be easier for the farms to sell year round and easier to get out to institutional use. So, you know, the simple start is sign up or give a present of a community supported agriculture share to encourage people in your, you know, friend group or family to start eating local. You know, Mike, related to your comment, you can also sign up for egg and, you know, meat, pork, or chicken shares. So you're getting a set amount and, you know, incorporating that and then planning your meals around vegetables, but adding the meat as a flavoring or a treat. And then you're supporting organizations that are working within local food systems like ours, and a lot of the partners that are, you know, working to really create a flywheel effect to shift the economics of food. And fortunately, with the pandemic, there's been a shift in the way that the federal government looks at this, and there's some additional infusions of dollars that we're trying to obtain for this area as well to build out a true food hub.
Kate, I have to say, I had so much fun going over to the farmers market there that you had set up. And I recommend to everybody to go to Riverhead Saturday morning, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, and see all of the local producers, including the Rachel that she talked about. I tried her elderberry syrup and it is fabulous, really great. So thank you for all that work. Kate and I actually met, I don't know, Kate, 20 years ago through environmental activities, right? When you, I think at the time you were at the group for the South Fork. Yeah?
That's right, yes.
Something like that. So she's been in this a long time, and it's an amazing job that you do, because our food and our farms, and each of us are eaters. And so we all have that power to influence the farmers and the whole patterns that happen in the new culture that we're shaping to be regenerative. So thank you so much, Kate, for all that work you're doing. Well, one thing that we really have come to understand is the way change happens. And the way change happens is with the early adopters. Change happens when we loudly talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. That's how we're going to move to this new culture. And so here we are in the holiday season coming up. We just had Thanksgiving, so you're remembering who you did or didn't talk to for certain reasons. But with the coming festivities, how do we talk to people? How do you talk to people about this new regenerative culture that we'd like to create? Melanie, how about you?
Sure.
Talk about it, talk about it, talk about it.
Sure. I think this is a really important question. I'm not really sure how climate change and zero waste became a political discussion. It should be everyone's concern. Facts are facts. Plastic is a problem. There's too much municipal waste and the human population is exploding. That being said, climate change has become a political discussion. And at the same time, I do not like confrontation, especially during the holidays. So here's how I deal with it. I don't ever judge or lecture anyone. If somebody asks me a question, I answer it. And if they want to talk about it, I'll talk about it all day. But personally, I will not criticize anyone. Because I was a busy working mom in the corporate world for many years and traveling frequently. And there was a time I didn't know about all of these issues plaguing the world today. I find that what works best is putting sustainable practices and goods in your home. And if someone asks, like, what are these? I'll say, oh, these are, unpaper towels, or these are Swedish dishcloths, and this is how I use them. I wash them, and I don't throw them away, and I reuse them, and I save a lot of money. And if something doesn't seem like it's an inconvenience, and will ultimately save the money, people will be more likely to adopt it. Some people do really fun things. If they wind up hosting for the holidays, they'll create a zero waste themed holiday gathering, and you tell people to bring their own plates and cutlery, and they prepare locally grown food, and they'll only give experiences rather than things. But not all of that will work. It won't work. That kind of thing wouldn't work in my family. But if it works in yours, feel free to use that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I like to be more of a quiet influencer rather than a lecturer. So if somebody asks me a question, they don't know what a certain product is, or they see me doing things differently than most people do, they'll typically ask because they're more curious. But I wouldn't necessarily go out and say, oh my gosh, you're using single-use cutlery, you really shouldn't do that. Personally, that's just not the way that I go about things. And working at the store and being at the zero waste shop all the time, you find so many people that just are not open to discussion, and they want to do things at their own pace. And I just prefer to do it that way.
Yeah, thank you very much, Annemarie. I mean, Melanie. And now, Annemarie.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, part of that too. Again, sometimes the discussion is open, sometimes it is not. But the holidays and giving is a great time. Like, I've given Swedish dishcloths, which are amazing. I don't know how anyone would go back to paper towels after using those. They're so great. So I've given those for Christmas to my family. I've given compost, a little kitchen compost bucket, and a very simple compost bin for the backyard that was just like a kind of like plastic with holes and stakes that my mom could put up in her yard. That'll fly with my family. I'm not going there with my in-laws, but the Swedish dishcloths were a hit with them, so there you go. But I always see that as an opportunity to throw hey, here's a present, and it's not lecturing them about their paper towel use, but it is subtle of like, here's something for you to enhance your life, and hope for the best with that.
Well, I hope there'll be a little information on where we get these Swedish dishcloths from in the chat before we're done.
I'll get right on that.
Kate, how about you?
Oh, I was just going to say one more thing, which is in the run up to that, like what I've done is, I have a big group chat with a bunch of my friends, and it's who wants to go to the holiday market at the farm with me, and, trying to, again, like just drum up that community of my friends and open that up to them, a lot of whom like maybe, aren't a member of the CSA with me, but like we'll go to the, see all the vendors and see who's there and all the small businesses and crafts and things. So
yeah,
it's another opportunity.
Yeah, great way to do that. Hey, Kate, before I ask you that question, I just wanted to also say that we do have our third co-founder on the call, and that is Joe DiVincenzi. Joe, shout out to you. Thanks. Kate, how about you?
Hi, Joe. I'm a big fan of the approach that Annemarie and Melanie had said, which is leading by example. And a lot of that is not just with our family and friends, but also, with our children. My daughter presented me with a list of 64 items that she has on her list for Christmas, and her birthday, fair enough, is also in December. However, we'll go over that and say, oh, well, you already have one of these. Let's find it. Let's shine it up and remind her. And of course, there's the joy of being a child and having some limited consumables that, may be allowed to sneak in. But, I do try to lean into repurposed things, also bringing things up from the past. Like my parents gave me their old record player, so maybe I would get some speakers and a stereo and hook that up and have that be something new. Also things that we need, like a new pair of snow boots or jacket, something we could read. And I always love to incorporate gifts that are handmade and consumable from local artisans. And plugging the market again is a great place to go and chat with people and just learn about what inspires them. Because when your farmer, your food producer, your artisan, it makes it a more special story than press and go on Amazon, which is a huge temptation in our busy, productive lives.
Yeah, buy local. Yes, yes, yes. One thing that I do, and that is, we have an extended, my family's large, and so we come at Christmas and we do Secret Santa. And so what I invite everyone to do is bring a Secret Santa reused gift. It has to be something that's reused, so they get the message through that. Hey, but I'm gonna jump out of line here, and we have Sean Barrett, the fantastic kelp grower from Montauk. And Sean, I would invite you to unmute yourself and tell us what you might suggest people give gifts for Christmas.
Holy smokes.
Fertilizer.
Yes. Some kelp fertilizer. What's up, Kate? And hey, Darr. Good to see everyone. Wow, I'm a little stunned at the moment. I was just listening intently to all these great suggestions, and now I have to put on my thinking cap for a quick moment. I would say for gift giving, yeah, absolutely. Local, as some of you guys know, we are community supported fishery folks. We got our start way back in the day when Kate's operation was originally Amagansett Food Institute. And so, yeah, we absolutely adhere to those principles. I think what Mikey was saying earlier about food miles is super important. A lot of, hopefully now folks know from the seafood sector, still over 90% of our seafood on Long Island is imported from outside the US. And when you do the calculations, especially because fish travels by plane often, like the carbon footprint. So local, as we've said, as I've heard said, we absolutely support that concept for lowering footprints. And I think what we're working on now, and have been working on for a number of years, but we're just bringing it kind of to the forefront, is kelp farming and products, right? Making a full circle loop here. So kelp, this is a very hopeful conversation. Kelp and seaweed farming off of Long Island, which we just got legalized last year. If you can imagine that the other weed became legal before seaweed became legal, but in the ocean world, kelp is kind of seen as a darling in the carbon conversation because it's so aggressively sequesters carbon, like 5 times faster than any other land-based plants. So the whole idea of like farming in our local waters is a little foreign to some folks, but I think because we have a very robust and developed oyster farming, and most folks know an oyster farmer, what we're trying to do is basically create, those are monoculture technically, like they're just farming oysters only. So we're now starting to create polyculture farms with all of the local oyster farmers that include kelp, specifically sugar kelp, in their farms. So the good news is over the last year, we've started like bringing products to market. So I could go on and on about this.
Hey, but Sean, if we wanted to give to one of our friends who has lawn or garden or vegetable, where could we buy some of your kelp fertilizer? Where could we go get that?
Yep, great question, Darr. So you can go to montaukseaweed.com, and some good news is we actually just sold out our last spring and summers season, but you can read about both of our products on there and then sign up for the new product alert list. So this spring, as the kelp farms are coming back online and our harvest and we're reproducing, we'll alert you first that these carbon capture products are available. And the great news is, not only are they pulling carbon out of the ocean and the kelp is acting as a vehicle to go into your soil, but there's a knock-on effect is that they are then causing very robust growth of anything you put it on your lawn, your garden, your farm, your vineyard, wherever you put this stuff, grows more vegetables, which it creates more photosynthesis, which takes more carbon out of the atmosphere. So we're trying to get a little aggressive about our carbon capture efforts. So montaukseaweed.com, Darr, thanks for letting me give it a plug. Check that out and sign up for our little wait list there, and we'll get you guys first alerts to know.
Win, win, win. And I see that Brianne has already put your website down there. So great.
Oh,
Thanks a lot.
very cool. Thank you.
Mike, you got the next question.
Sure. I mean, I like your style. It's like we kind of like almost like we have a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire format. And we just can pull someone out of the stage and help us out. Okay, so I think, Annemarie, this is for you. Libraries are literally rooted in sharing. That's kind of the whole, despite them being made of trees, the books, that is, the concept of rather than buying new material, libraries are kind of founded in a sustainable paradigm. And so I'd love to hear about how your organization, the partners you work with, promote sustainability during the holidays or just in general.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, libraries are built on the sharing economy. That's what we do. It is books, and we still love books, but you will find that, there's a lot more there than just the books. But we're definitely, it's one book for the whole community, or, a couple, rather than every single person owning their own. So even that is, a reduction of what we need. But something that's really blossoming, and that is that more and more libraries are creating and expanding, is a library of things, which includes a lot of things that are useful around the holidays. Again, like we've talked a little bit about making your own and crafting, and I mentioned the sewing machines, and the availability of these tools at libraries, not to mention that, but also instruction. But there's other things like a machine, which is, something that you can take a graphic and then cut out on sticky paper, and create your own gifts and things like that from all these craft tools, and the know-how, the knowledge is available at your library. Many libraries, and really nationwide, no matter where you are. But I can speak specifically for which libraries have it at Suffolk County. But for experiences, if you wanted to, there's trips to the city available, through your library, a discounted rate on a bus or on the train, and also museum passes that go along with that too. So again, like with my kids, we do a lot of experiences rather than things. And many times we're going to see what is available. Now is a good time to try to check out museum passes for the holiday break week, for example. And most of the libraries in Suffolk County will have a whole different collection of museum passes that are available to check out and to use. So there's so many things. I think Sachem Library is having a whole festival of lights and a holiday market in their outside space this in the next couple of weeks. One of the things that I love the most have been holiday sing-alongs that we've had, because again, that's something else that is easy to abandon when you're rushing around like crazy. I have concerts, school concerts, dance recitals, and holiday parties all jammed together starting now, but getting together with a whole group of mixed age group of people and community members, and just going and drinking hot chocolate and singing together is something so priceless. And that is something that I've been able to do every year at my library too. So there's a lot there that's maybe holiday spirit, but then also and the other thing that's rented too is things like cake pans, baking tools, again, so that you don't have to go out and buy a little Christmas tree mold or something. you just get that from the library, and and use it, and you don't have to store it. There's one for the whole community. So
I love that.
look into that. And again, in my day job, I'm promoting and helping libraries, and again, giving them ideas to then expand that to more people.
And
Boy, I'm getting so many ideas from you. I can imagine
It's great.
giving somebody as a book, I mean, a book I took out from the library, right? They've got 2 weeks to read it.
so, Melanie, what about you? I mean, you're the first carbon zero organ company on Long Island. I mean, that is a huge deal. I'm just take a moment to talk about your organization in Port Jefferson. Who's coming into your store and what are you selling?
So yeah, we are the first zero waste lifestyle shop on Long Island. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be telling you that you shouldn't be a consumer, but I do believe in buying less and buying better, and quality over quantity, and natural over toxic, and biodegradable things over plastic. And so our shop, we do sell a lot of items that help to replace anything that's disposable. Swedish dishcloths, on paper towels. We have beeswax wraps that replace saran wrap. We have reusable bags that replace like Ziploc bags, and stainless steel straws that replace like plastic or supposed, compostable straws that are really not compostable. And so we also have a refillery, which I'm really excited to talk about. And refilleries are places where you can bring your own container and fill up on non-toxic self-care and cleaning solutions, such as like laundry detergent. We have like toilet bombs, we have glass cleaner, we have toothpaste tabs, we have mouthwash tabs. So all of these things where you can come in and buy only what you need and pay by the ounce without any packaging whatsoever, just like the mason jar or whatever you bring. So we save a ton of plastic waste just by offering that refillery. We also have small batch female apparel that is prides itself on the fact that all the makers that we showcase have 2 seasons. If you know anything about fast fashion and the amount of seasons an H&M or a Shein has, you're talking about hundreds of seasons. They are constantly producing millions of pieces of apparel that if they don't sell, they go to the landfill. We only showcase designers that do 2 seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter, and that's it. Everything is cut to order. So the orders that come in, they produce, and that's it, and they're shipped out. So they never have any leftover pieces at the end of the season. So again, while we don't, we're obviously selling products, right? We try to focus on better ways of doing things than things that are mass produced, not locally made, and have like a really large carbon footprint.
That's incredible. I mean, I lived in West Africa for a period of time in the Peace Corps, and I actually, despite them not having in this area, they had no means of recycling and dealing with garbage, but they had refilleries. I didn't know they were called that. And I don't think they probably call them that, but that was 10 years ago. And, here we are on Long Island, and here, what you're doing is really the tip of the spear. And it's so thank you for, because people do buy new things. I gave my mother only gifts from the library. I don't know if she's talked to me about. So
yep, I get it. I totally get it. And like I said, we're not perfect, and we're not asking anybody to do perfect, but if you're open to new ideas, we can show you new ways of doing things that hopefully will make a difference.
And thank you. And so for the sake of time, because we're actually running out of time, this was such a wonderful conversation and we didn't want to burden everyone, but Darr, why don't you hit them with the last question and then we can move on to Q&A if everyone has time for that.
Okay, the most valuable sustainability hot tips for the holiday season. Now, you've already given us so many, so you may be out of ideas, but just one last round, we would love it. And okay, Kate, we're starting with you.
All right. Well, I wouldn't be a nonprofit executive director if I didn't mention supporting your favorite charity in honor of your loved ones as a gift. It is so important and valuable, especially for local nonprofits that are doing really important work to solve problems in the community. For East End Food Institute, we have a campaign going on right now for Farm to Community, which actually puts money into the hands of food pantry buyers so that they can buy through our virtual farmers market the produce and products that they want to put on the shelves. So it's really beautiful. They get a dignity of choice of what they need. They get to support the local environment and a local economy through those farmers and food producers. And then they also get to give that gift and that dignity to the people that are patronizing the food pantries. So I'll put a link in if anybody would like to do that. And, you know, giving experiences like that or gifts in honor of is always a great idea.
Wonderful. Philanthropy to your organization would be great. Thanks, Kate. And Melanie, how about you?
Yeah, three really quick tips for the holidays is I know everybody is busy and around this time of year, and because of that, I think a lot of people do choose to have fast food. So something that you can incorporate now and going forward is if you are going through the drive-through or if you are getting fast food, when you are placing your order and you're bringing it home, just ask the server not to put plastic utensils in your bag. If you're bringing the food home, you don't need plastic utensils, you don't need napkins, you don't need straws. You probably have all these things at home. So that's one quick tip for the holidays. Another thing is gift cards. If you give a lot of gift cards, there are a lot of e-gift cards now where you can, in place of a plastic card, you can utilize a QR code or a number code. We don't provide plastic gift cards at our shop. We do QR codes. They can be redeemed online. They can be redeemed in store. Plastic gift cards just wind up in the garbage and you don't need that. Another thing, greeting cards. So greeting cards, a lot of people just don't do them at all, but a lot of people still send greeting cards. If you're going to, there are alternative options such as electronic cards. And then there are also cards that are made from seed paper. Seed paper cards, you can write in them, you can mail them, but they have seeds in the paper and they're actually, you can rip them up, plant them, water it, and they will sprout wildflowers. So that's a really cute idea and something that you can do instead of just doing regular greeting cards.
Great little ideas, paying attention to everything. Thank you very much, Melanie. Annemarie.
Oh goodness, I don't know that I have anything else to add to those. Those are some great suggestions. I would just say to like think about experiences and just take some time this holiday season, and you know, and when you can, you know, a little creativity, even if you're the least craftiest person ever, can save you in terms of packaging or even, you know, just yeah, and take a look, just pay attention to the packaging, you know, let that kind of filter in a little bit to see where you can reduce, and maybe it's selecting one brand over another, but pay attention.
Well, thank you. Well said. So that concludes our